Amanda Masterson is an intuitive video artist and coach who shares heart centered expressions of her life as it unfolds, and she reclaims her power to create the open hearted, soulful experience she truly desires. She holds space for souls desiring to bring more meaning and aliveness to their lives, relationships, and their own creations in one to one sessions and heart expression circles, encouraging slow, open hearted living as a principle. When she's not expressing or holding space, you can usually find her out enjoying the beauty of Normandy's countryside with her lover and baby girl. I'm gonna start the recording. Hi, Amanda. I'm so glad to have you today on the Healer Hub podcast. How are you doing?
I'm really good. Thank you, Anca. I'm really honored to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
So we were chatting a little bit about who you are professionally and how you are serving people. So I'm wondering if you would be willing to share with us who you are and what is your background story.
Yeah, so my name's Amanda Masterson. I'm originally from Canada, but been living in France for the past 5 years. And the work that I've been doing since I've arrived in France is as an intuitive coach and what I call an expressions from the heart video artist, where I really just show up on video, express what's on my heart, and let things unfold from there. And it's been quite the journey. And it's taken me to places I didn't expect, where I'm holding circles for other people to express from the heart, or I'm doing one-on-one work with people so that they can start to move from the head down into their hearts and trust their hearts to express what needs to be said in the moment, instead of getting stuck in that perfectionist kind of mind and being like, oh, I should have said this or I should have said that, really getting into the body ultimately, and into the heart and soul. So that's a bit of a gist of what I've been up to and what I offer.
Yeah, that's really beautiful. And just to create a little bit of transparency, we met during the Vita coaching certification. And I would love for you to expand on what you are offering and who you are as an intuitive coach.
Yeah, so that's the thing. In this past year, I've really dove into everything that the Vita coaching certification has to offer, and I'm starting to weave in some of these aspects of embodiment, breath work, everything that we've been learning about Tantra. And at this point, I'm still working out how I'm going to be presenting that in the work that I've already been doing. But it's definitely all connected and all a part of it. Like, the way that I see it as an intuitive coach, it's like we continuously keep learning and growing, and basically like putting more tools in our tool belt. And through something like the Vita coaching program, it's like you're adding like all of this power of our sexuality and the tools that we can use there, like I mentioned, like breath work and stuff like that, as more tools to the tool belt. And then we can kind of like take them out depending on how things are going in sessions and what the client wants, what they're ready for, gently and slowly presenting different options. That's my approach anyway. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah. How did you get to doing the work that you are doing?
Yeah. It's been quite the journey, to be honest. It's like ever since I was young, I knew that I was never going to fit into like a normal working world of like 9 to 5 office job kind of thing. And I went to university just because I knew something inside me told me that I would need like a bachelor's degree to help me move more smoothly throughout the world. So I got a bachelor's degree in sociology. But travel and exploring was like most important to me. And so I had just kind of accepted that working would be an adventure and it would be fun, and I would just try any jobs I felt called to along the way. And so a lot of it ended up being, since I was traveling a lot of it ended up being teaching English in foreign countries like China, like France, like Mexico. And I don't know, with this knowing that that was never like the end point. Like I just always had this knowing that I would do something that I didn't know even existed at that
Mm.
point, you know? And so 5 years ago when I arrived in France, I had this like huge spiritual awakening. And from there, I suddenly had this knowing that I actually had to be an entrepreneur. And I didn't really know like what that was going to look like, because until then I had kind of spent a lot of my time outside of the system being like, I don't want to participate in capitalism. Money's evil. Like, I'm just going to be a hippie that lives in the forest. And then with this spiritual awakening, it's like I had this knowing of actually, I have to like kind of work inside the system, but with my rules, and I can do that. And so since then, it's been this huge like healing journey when it comes to like owning my worth, all of like the wealth consciousness stuff, abundance work, and then starting to like use my voice and put myself out there and work on my priestessing skills. That's another program that I've really worked on in these last few years too, just like learning how to hold space for others, care for myself, all of that good stuff. So yeah, there's a lot to it. There's a lot to it, but it's been a really beautiful journey.
Mm. What was the catalyst of your spiritual enlightenment?
Yeah. Well, actually, I just put out a series on my YouTube channel, a three short 3-part video YouTube series on this, where I'm just sharing the moment where we decided to move from Canada to France. Um, Me and my partner decided to get married at the same time, do everything at the same time. It was like pretty intense, but it was great. Like I don't know, we were okay in Canada, but we were just kind of at this point where it was like, what's next? Like we both had jobs that were okay, but I was experiencing burnout at that time. I didn't realize. I just knew something was wrong. And so we were just like, hey, what's next? And it was like, well, either we really settle down here, start a family here, keep staying here, maybe buy a house, whatever, or we restart, we restart and we go somewhere else. Because I don't know, I just felt like there was something else that was missing, you know? And so when we did that, like that whole transition and coming into France, and this was about 5 years ago, um, I arrived with a bit of savings from my previous job. So I was able to just like tell myself, I'm not going to force myself to like look and find some kind of shitty job again. I'm just gonna take some time and heal. And at that time I was saying like just go with the flow of like wherever life wants me to go. And I didn't expect that to lead me to like spirituality, because I was so not like a spiritual person at all. I was actually kind of freaked out by that stuff. But like my intuition kept taking me deep and deeper into places that like intuitive abilities and like just this deep connection to something so much greater that I didn't even really know was possible. And so it ended up being really intense, really intense, but in the most beautiful way possible. Like I experienced peace and love on a level that I had never experienced it before. And yeah, it was like suddenly my eyes were opened to what was possible. And since then, it's like I can't go back. It's like I know that that's there. And so I've just been like altering my life to keep creating more space for that.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah. I think that like I called it spiritual enlightenment, and I felt like a cringe to my heart because sometimes people just throw, and you called it spiritual awakening. Sometimes
Yeah.
people just throw words around, and I imagine also that we have an image of something that is radical and just creates a big rupture, and sometimes it can be just a very gentle awakening. But in this gentle awakening, there are going to be moments where you're going to go really deep, and it's going to get really messy, and you're going to go back to gentleness.
Oh yeah. Definitely.
Yeah. So you mentioned healing, and I'm wondering, what does that mean to you, to heal, to be in the process of healing, And how do you go about it? How does it relate also with the modalities that you use to help your clients through intuitive coaching?
Yeah. Well, for me, and I guess I'm bouncing off of this spiritual awakening moment since we were just talking about it, but it first started looking like truly accepting myself for who I really am. And like, again, on a level that I had never allowed myself to do it before because I didn't realize it, but I had been such a people pleaser. I was over giving like crazy. Um, and so a part of my healing was healing from burnout at my last job because I just overworked like crazy at a nonprofit organization doing something that I felt was meaningful, but like I gave way too much and I didn't know how to set boundaries. I didn't know any of that stuff back then. So like healing for me started off by looking like just slowing way down, turning inwards and really connecting to what it is that I need and what I desire. And that, like, just that, it sounds so basic, but starting there, like, changed everything. So, so I think that is one thing that I do like to focus on and bring a lot in my work is just this reminder for slowness, slowing down, that can be okay, that can be beautiful, and simplicity. You know, again, like we can get so in our minds about how the way that things need to look and what we need to be creating or doing and all of this stuff, or like what our routine needs to look like and all of this stuff. And it's just like, no, let's just like take it way back, slow it down, and like accept where we're at day to day. And it shifts all the time. And this is another piece actually that's coming up as part of the catalyst as well, like that happened kind of all before leaving from France. I had this like leaving to France, sorry. Yeah, I had this huge fight the Christmas before with my mom and my sister. And it was very explosive. And that was actually part of the catalyst too, because I remember at the end of it, connecting the situation to where I was at with my period and realizing like I remember saying to my sister like I don't know, maybe like I've heard of some women who like you know would just go off into red tents when they have their period and disconnect themselves from the world, like maybe that's what I should be doing because I'm so pissed right now, you know. And from there I actually started researching more about like our cycles as women and really really understanding what was going on there. Well, I'm getting full body tingles as I'm sharing this. um because that was like a huge game changer too, like really starting to understand my cycles as a woman and working with them instead of just like either ignoring them or trying to like yeah trying to act like you know like it's just like a linear life when really we're living so cyclically with these cycles and our hormones. And yeah, since I started working with that, my life has really changed a lot too. So that's something that I don't bring that much in my work, but thinking maybe I should talk about it a little bit more, especially with these tingles that I'm getting now. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And thank you for bringing womanhood in our discussion. Because I think that for me also growing up, I once I started reading about the Mary Magdalene, like women code and yeah,
Mm,
about the red tent and just the moon and how it impacts. It's not that it impacts; it's just a normal stream of my life, being in tune with my cycle, with my period, and just celebrating that. It shifted because I remember I used to say, "Well, I don't have any pain. I don't experience any pain," and then I realized that me experiencing no pain, it was me ignoring the fact that I am actually a menstruating woman who has her period in a certain time at a certain time during the moon. It was just during the month. It was just like a like exactly as you said it, was there was no change in my behavior, in the way that I took care of my body and in the way that I was relating to the world. So I would love for you to expand on this and to give us a glimpse of how you are working with your menstrual cycle and how you are honoring yourself and your body and your truth in different phases. What is the red tent if you are also working with the moon? I'm
Mm,
really curious about all this.
yeah, totally. um, it has been a journey since I realized that that was something that was actually really important to me, in these or almost 6 years, I guess, since I had that particular awakening, I guess. Um, it's been up and down, there's been moments where it's like, okay, I know that I can connect to my inner seasons. There's a woman, I can't think of her name right now. Wait, I have her book right there. Sam Jana Moon. She has this book. I know that this is not going to be a video, it's going to be audio, but I want to show you the clock that I bought. It's an
Wow.
inner seasons moon clock. So I'll just kind of describe it since people might not be able to see it, but it shows like the different seasons that we can experience based on our cycles and the different phases that we go through every month as a woman. And you actually have like a dial that goes around the clock and reminds you visually, which really helped me, of where you're at in your cycle. So you start to connect with these inner seasons and recognize that, like, okay, in the spring I'm going to be in this like maiden energy that is quite loved and accepted by your society generally. Same with like the next phase, like summer, where you're kind of like in this luscious, sexy, or perhaps motherhood kind of energy. And then in the fall, you start to like, want to like wind things down. Or for me, anyways, like organize things, kind of get ready for hibernation. So it can be a little bit frantic, but at the same time, you can like start to be a little bit cranky. I think this is like the phase that starts to be like PMS phase. And then in the winter, that's where like you start bleeding and you really go inwards and really just connect with this like deep intuition that we have. And that's the piece that is missing a lot of the time because in our society we don't necessarily make space for that or honor that. And I think that's why our periods can be so difficult, because we aren't going off to that red tent and giving ourselves that time to really just be in stillness and let our bodies cleanse, you know. So the visual helped me a lot because sometimes I would still forget. I had like this sheet thanks to this book, that I would put up with my partner so that he would also remember, and I'd be communicating it with him a lot for us both to remember. And the thing is, now I'm pregnant. So in this last year, I haven't had a period, which has now actually been so weird because I had become so accustomed to really tracking my cycle, in this way. And now it's like, okay, it's totally, totally different now. So it's been kind of interesting. But I kind of miss it now, which is crazy, right? So many people want to wish away their periods, but it's like when we start to connect with the magic and the gift that is really there, we can really come into harmony with it and find ways to love it. So yeah.
Thank you for sharing that journey and also happy to be in your presence as you're bringing life into the world.
Yeah.
And it's just really really beautiful how you also made your partner a part of the story and a part of the conversation. I remember reading in her blood is gold, in the book Her Blood is Gold, about how there is a reason biologically why we are a little bit more edgy around our menstruation,
Mm.
because we need the space to draw inward, and our external behavior is kind of pushing people away, because for many of us it's difficult to say,
hey, I actually need space and time for myself. So I'm going to go in my red tent. I'm
Mhm.
going to breathe. I'm going to connect with my intuition. I'm going to see what is coming through for me during this moon. And I'm going to come back. Yeah. And it's also
Yeah.
like such a mystical and such a mysterious process, because even if we as women are sharing the same knowledge and the same experience somehow, it's still very personal from
Mm,
person to person. And something else that came up to me, because of course being in this work and just, yeah, shedding the layers of patriarchy,
yeah.
coming closer to my truth and choosing to be truthful to who I am. And just yesterday, wow, I was listening to Layla talking about the difference between leading from a space of desire and from a space of truth. And I was like, damn, it makes so much sense. Like somebody's putting it into words, because for my truth, I would die. But I was
Mm,
so led by desire because I thought that that's the way to come home to myself, by satisfying whatever desire was arising. So just
mhm.
going back to the moon, reading about it and also reading the Mary Magdalene, about Mary Magdalene and like the sisterhood and so on, I started really celebrating my bleeding period. I'm like, yes, great, you're like so welcome here, and I'm so happy to be in this woman body. And well, I'm 35 now, so I'm thinking, wow, I missed like 20 years of this. I missed 20 years of celebrating and connecting with my womb and asking my body what it needs and being really, really caring and considering this precious, precious gift, like being aware of where I am in my moon and celebrating that phase by going slower, by being super creative. Like when I'm ovulating, I'm this magnetic, radiant force of nature. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for bringing this to my awareness and to the listeners' awareness.
Yeah, thanks for sharing like your experience with that too, because it's just so inspiring to hear, and it makes me so happy to know also that I'm gonna have a girl, and that I've learned this stuff before she arrived, and that I'll be able to teach her that, because she won't be like us and wake up in our 30s and start to finally find this information. Like, imagine having had this knowing from the beginning, and that's like, again, gives me like tingles, and just imagining that and thinking that and being able to offer that to the next
Mm.
generation, this lost information.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think we were discussing about this, and I think it's a really beautiful segue into what we were talking about, like sisterhood and celebrating other women. And I think that when you as a woman really contemplate your womanhood and really worship this body that you were born into, and understanding how there is no competition, there is just a story that we have been told that we should fight for the resource, which are usually portrayed as men, or like whatever resources are out there. When you start going out of this narrative and you just, yeah, there is this beautiful, beautiful space of 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 holding space and nurturing other women and celebrating them in their process, and being a catalyst for their becoming closer to their truth and sinking into their, yeah, their womanly gifts. So I'm so grateful for the fact that your little girl, yeah, is coming to into a very conscious context, which is going to be nurtured and celebrated right from the start.
Yeah, thank you for saying that. And thanks for talking about like sisterhood and what it can look like and what we can continue to create, because that's something else that's like, again, over the course of my life, recently new. Like 5 years ago, I was not surrounded by women in the way that I am now, and I didn't think that I could connect with women. I always felt like, I don't know, there was some kind of disconnect, and and so I just kind of didn't even try anymore. Like, and then again, with like this awakening that I had and this healing journey, it's shifted completely. And I think a part of the shift was also in accepting and embracing my womanhood in the way that feels right to me. It's like we have these given message about like what femininity is and whatever, but it's like really, really reclaiming womanhood on this other level that feels like true to us. And it's like I find I'm finding more women who are in that vein and I can connect with those women actually, and there's a whole bunch of them out there. And it feels like, yeah, the divine feminine coming alive and bringing us all together. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of hope now. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I like something that came up for me is how growing up I used to say that I get more along with boys than with girls, and my
Yeah, me
story
too.
is that I yeah. And
Yeah.
just now, as you were saying this, I heard it recently from somebody, and I think that there is the space to start the conversation of why do you think that you are getting better along with men. I'm not saying that that's wrong or there's any problem there, but it's a clear sign of the sisterhood wound. It's a clear
Yeah.
sign of I don't really trust women. It's not really safe for me to be around women, but it's safe for me to be around men because at least I can polarize them and I'm getting some sort of needs met through that polarization. I don't think it's always true and coming from a healthy, honorable space, but I think it just feels safer because at least there is a very clear power dynamic and the ego thrives on that, right?
Mm.
Whereas it's so difficult to be in the presence of somebody who's really mirroring what hurts most, which
Yeah.
is not really trusting the feminine. And the feminine, like even I guess the feminine within each of us, um, has been longing for such a long while to be seen and trusted and contained and supported. And I think that it's just like yeah, like an opportunity for us to rewrite that story and to create safety for other women to be. And I consciously make it my purpose. And my ex-partner was telling me, how do you think that you can create that safety for other women? Did you see how you look like? Did you see how you dance? Like you cannot do that, right? And I was like,
Mm.
well, that's a altered story right there. You know what I mean? That
Oh
who I
yeah.
am would be unsafe for other women. At the same time, I can make a conscious choice of, like, for example, when I go to public spaces, um, I hold the eye gaze of other women and I smile and I sink into my heart and I'm like, I really focus on communicating. I'm safe,
Mm.
you know.
Mm.
And like and sometimes no, sometimes there are these again power dynamics and like uh somebody needs to shine and somebody needs to push somebody away with their energy. But I'm really trying my best to be more conscious about that, and also like holding women in their process of
Mm.
expressing their needs and their emotions. Like so many of us feel really guilty about the way that we are feeling because our
Mm.
emotions don't really have space. Like, you are either crazy or why are you making a drama or why are you acting in a way that is not conforming to the to the narrative, which is just suck it in and do what needs to be done, be pleasing, smile nicely, and don't create too much too much trouble around you.
Yeah. Oh, I love so much of what you shared there. But ending on this particular note is just like it speaks to me so much because this is like part of the work too, like part of the work that I've been doing in my video expressions, like holding space for uh whatever emotion wants to come out as well and expressing that and sharing that, even though I know it's gonna like be weird to some people. But like and with all of the veto work that we've done in this work, in being in connecting to like our womanhood, seeing the gifts there, connecting to our cycles, it's like a part of all of that magic is this fact that we can feel so deeply if we let ourselves, and that is like so beautiful. And I personally feel like it's part of the like our evolution, to like let back in all of these emotions and like create safe spaces for them, and become emotionally mature, know how to use them to help guide us. Like right now I'm working with rage. I'm working with rage, and I've had like, you know, a hard time with rage because it has been very explosive, like in that story that I shared a little briefly, with my mom and my sister earlier. And so I've been like rejecting it, and yet, you know, I'm really feeling right now, like Sekhmet has been coming through for me a lot this week. And I've been working with her, like lioness, fierce energy. She wants me to destroy the good girl and to let my rage come through. So I really say what I think, what I feel, share my perspectives, even though it might be a bit fiery, even though it might rock the boat, and that I don't necessarily want to go there. But again, this anger that I feel, this frustration, is a gift, and I can channel it in a way that isn't super explosive and makes me regret it after because I've like held it back for so long. But I can, you know, work with these emotions to really help me follow my heart and keep creating what I want and what I need. So yeah, that's another gift that we have, as especially as women. I mean, obviously men feel things too, but it's like I think women feel things like on this whole other level that just makes men, in my case anyway, I know my partner just like, he thinks that's so beautiful. He's just like, wow, like the way you feel things is like, it really creates awe, you know, when we let ourselves let ourselves feel it all and be seen in that. Like, yeah, people who want to go there too, they can appreciate that, fully aliveness.
Yeah. My therapist recently told me that men need model to know
Mm,
how to be in the world. So I think it's really powerful also because patriarchy told us that, well, women are emotional and
mm,
crazy, but men should never be that, right? So I think that we are kind of allowed by default to be crazy and emotional, which is not being crazy and emotional, it's just being with what is true to our
yeah.
souls. And I think that when we are able to channel that, then it creates space for our partners or for the men who are witnessing that to tap into their flavor, their emotions, flavors, and bring it about in a way that is not aggressive or destroying, because this is the other narrative, right? Like I as the masculine can be the destroyer, and I can hurt people and women, and I
Mm,
have to hold it together and just keep this cool, distant um, image. And it's just really, really beautiful that your partner is celebrating your self-expression, because at the end this is the truth, right? Like I was thinking, why is it so important for me to be in my truth? Well, because being in my truth means that I am fully self-expressed, and that's probably the only purpose that we have in life.
yeah.
Self-expression. There is no other individual that is Amanda Masterson with your unique magical entanglement of beingness. I don't know how to call it.
Yeah.
And so many of us are trying to like be somebody else, and wouldn't it be great to have her eyes and her personality and this and that? And it's like, well, this beautiful creation that you are needs to be honored, otherwise it's just like a waste of energy and like all the resources that have been put into your being alive in this moment in time and space. Like the more that you occupy your being, the more that you expand into that truth, the more that you are self-expressed in whatever way you deem at that level of consciousness that you are at suitable, the better it is for yourself and for everybody else. So when you are withholding emotional expression, you are withholding your self-expression, and you're actually like damaging and like stealing the possibility of people experiencing you in that way. And
Yeah.
rage is such a powerful creatrix energy. It's just that
Yeah.
most of the time, because it has been suppressed, it just comes out in a destructive way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man, I was like, you're like bringing tears to my eyes. I'm like, yes, you say it. I'm kind of like, oh my god. I totally agree with you. I think that like this space of being fully expressed, being fully alive, being like so in the moment with what is and not holding ourselves back,
Mm.
it ties into all of these practices that we do through like the Vita coaching method too. It's
Yeah.
like letting ourselves reconnect with that wildness,
Mm.
of really just being. And I'm so grateful that I've been connecting to these practices before giving birth, because that's how I want my birth to be. Like, I want to be totally wild in how it comes through, and like really connected to my body and these emotions that might want to come through and pour through moment to moment. It's that for me, like, that's life, that's really living.
Yeah.
Really living. Yeah.
Yeah. I am really, really happy for you and your partner and everybody and your baby girl and everybody who's in this space, because I just feel that it's gonna be such a raw, uh, bringing life into life. And I'm just like, I'm so honored to, yeah, to know that this will come to be, and it's coming to, like, it's coming into existence just by you embracing these practices and doing your own thing. And it's also like the generational healing that is happening, on the horizontal, and 7 generations back and forth, or how many generations back and forth.
Mm.
And I remember somebody asking me, like, why do you do therapy? Like, what's wrong with you? And I'm like, so many things. But it's not that they are wrong. It's just that I really don't want to bleed on the people who did not create the wounds. So for
Yeah.
me, the fact that you are taking responsibility in becoming the woman, the mother, the partner, the lover, the sister, the coach who you
Mm.
want to be is the most beautiful gift that you can offer somebody.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It absolutely is. And it's the most beautiful gift we can offer to ourselves too,
Yeah.
like, and like you said, to honor this being that we are, this expression that we are, by like really, really allowing ourselves to appreciate this life that we have fully, right? Um,
Mm.
mm, yeah, I really feel like that's part of it too, and that's what I want. It's like we focus so much on like purpose. It's like, oh, like, what am I going to do? Am I going to be a mother, a coach, a partner, and wanting to label ourselves in all these ways? And again, like, coming back to the simplicity of like knowing that our purpose can just be to be fully expressed and to love
Yeah.
and honor ourselves, and that is actually huge. That is huge in this
Yeah.
world where like we don't talk about that, like it always has to be more complicated, but really this simple act is enormous.
Mhm.
Enormous.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for bringing that into our conversation. I think that it's also somehow the carrot that we've been served. Search for your purpose, be of service to humanity or to society or whatever. Whereas it has always been inside the truth of just being and peeling the layers of who you are not
Yeah.
and what
Yeah.
what you are not.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, and it doesn't mean that you're not going to do anything, like, that you're not going to start your business, or, go off and afterwards be so overflowing that you want to give
Mm.
in some way. But at the same time, it's like, what if, and this is, like some of these deep acceptance practices that we do in Vita too, right? It's like, what if, what if your purpose is to really just be and do nothing and just love yourself and love every day? Like, would you be okay with that? Like,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Um, and I've been coming around to accepting that too,
Mm.
and it feels, I don't know, it brings in such peace actually.
Yeah.
And then from there, you just move with the energy, the energy of what you really want to create, if you feel like creating, and if not, that's okay too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So many times, I've heard about surrender, and it had become like a
Mm.
trick that my ego was doing. Like on the floor, Jesus, here I am surrendering to you. Just show me the way. So like full on ego. You show me the path. I'm gonna follow it. Even I think in the last months, I don't think I know it. It like just yeah, being in the sisterhood of Vita, and I really truly understood what surrender means. And it's not something that I mean, like I can try to put it into words, but it's just because I've been wondering whether I want to be a mother and what it means, in which context would I want to be a mother, and
Mm,
all the shapes that I want partnership to take, and the coach, what kind of coach, and all these aspects. And then this truth emerged that all I need to do is to really, really focus on being who I am, being the most loyal that I can be to the truth of me being me, and um, just being masterful at being myself. And it
yeah.
feels that from this space, all these other questions and all my need to control the outcome and what roles I'm going to take and what roles I'm going to play in the world and in society, what is really not mine is kind of like very easily falling through, like falling away, sorry. And
Yeah.
um, I do feel that surrender kind of got this shape of, and it may also be that what I most long for will not be to be
Mm,
this lifetime.
mm, mm.
And I have nothing else to add. Like, it's okay, it's not okay. It's just that's what it is.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, beautifully said. I love the way that you express these things, by the way. You just have such a beautiful voice and way of bringing words to exactly what I'm experiencing too. Like,
Yeah.
so I'm so happy that you brought surrender into the conversation because that's what it is too. And and this acceptance. I'm bringing the word acceptance in again. Um, but yeah, that's the thing. It's like we can have so many visions and so many ideas, and again, if we can be with what is, um, and really appreciate the moment too. It's that's yeah, it's so simple that we want more, but actually, like that's everything. Yeah.
Yeah, and at the same time, yesterday when I was listening to Layla and she was talking about Mark Manson, the subtle art of not giving a fuck,
Mm,
and how he's saying, well, you are not going to get what you want in this lifetime. You are going to get what you are willing to be in pain for, in discomfort for, right?
mm.
And it is true because so many of us, I don't know, I heard this guy saying that we are these fragile unicorns, you know what I mean, and who create these stories about how life is failing us and God is failing us, our partners are failing us, and everybody's failing us, and we are these beautiful creatures that deserve the best, and why am I not getting the best? Well, because you are staying in what feels really comfortable. And like the
Mm.
processes that we are talking about, they are really, really uncomfortable. And
Oh yeah.
it's like, it's not the uncomfortable, like, it's not the uncomfortable of, I don't know, pushing 20 kg for 5 minutes over the head, or like 1 minute of doing squats with 50 kg on your back. It's, is is the like the discomfort that may also never end.
Yeah, it's the
It's got
soul
to
work.
transform.
It's the soul work, it's the this
Yeah.
like inner discomfort of like and again going back to the spiritual awakening that I experienced when I arrived in France, it was like I had been searching for something outside this whole time and like
Mm.
experiencing the discomfort of like, putting myself out there and traveling and but I was not like fully facing the fear of like going inwards
Yeah.
and doing that like uncomfortable soul work that was
Yeah.
required. Yeah,
Yeah.
feeling all of the tough stuff that we don't necessarily want to feel,
Yeah.
facing our limiting beliefs, being like brutally honest with ourselves sometimes around like where we are holding ourselves back and saying we want one thing, but actually stopping ourselves from getting there.
Yeah.
um so yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And such a beautiful, for me, it was such a beautiful process of being with my disgust, with my self-loathing,
Oh
with my
yeah.
shame, and with my guilt, being with the
Yeah.
parts of me that I terribly hate,
Oh
and
yeah.
just feeling into that, feeling into my self-hatred.
Yeah.
Like, this feels ecstatic, orgasmic. I so fucking hate myself. I've been hating myself for years now. How wonderful is this?
Oh yeah, totally, totally. Yeah, like holding space for all of that stuff. That is just like, it's like, I don't know, we just don't even know that it's possible sometimes, you know? Like I know I didn't realize to what extent I could go there, and to what extent it could help me transform and really again live the life that I truly want to be living. It's like that deep shadow work. It's
Mm.
incredibly powerful, incredibly powerful. And again, we're cut off from that, like, or we have been. Like, thankfully, so many people are like starting to do this work, talking about it, and bringing it to other people. Like, I'm so grateful for that. Um, so grateful.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm grateful for you bringing, because as just before you mentioned shadow work, I was thinking about the shadow and how whatever is not brought to consciousness, whatever is not brought to light, it's not that it doesn't exist. It's just that it works from the background and it's still driving us. Like my shame, my guilt, my self-loathing. It's not that they weren't there; they were always there. They were just functioning from an unconscious space, and they were completely driving the show.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. So
Yeah.
it's like about taking our power back, right? And
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, working with all these pieces instead of like like unconsciously fighting them by repressing them and ignoring them.
Yeah. I think that also, like, something that I really learned through this process was, can I can I just be with that? You know what I mean? Can I bring that to light and look at it and be like, this is what it is, you know, like a full acceptance. And sometimes it goes into, well, can I love that part, you know, and can I take pleasure in the way that that part was created to serve something, you know? Usually it's a protective part that really, really tried its best to get my needs met by creating a story about how I'm not lovable unless I do this and that. And then I
Yeah.
started doing this and that, and I still felt unlovable. Oh, okay, now I'm seeing through the little story that we have here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Amanda. It was really, ooh, it was really healing. And I think that sometimes it's so difficult for us to say and to put into words the work that we do, because it,
Oh yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, there are so many pieces to it, and that's why I'm grateful for this space to be exchanging with you and to like hear you talking about it to help like anchor in the way to express it on my end too, because I find it difficult. Like there are so many pieces and so many layers
Mm.
to try to tell somebody like straight up what this is. Like I don't know, it's hard to do in like 1 minute, you know? It's like even in an hour long conversation, is you know, there's so many pieces.
Yeah.
And so yeah, so I'm just grateful for this exchange and for you putting all of these words to what we've both been going through in the last year through the program and everything. And and for giving me the opportunity to express myself on all of these pieces too.
Mm. Thank you. Whew. So where can people find you online?
Yeah, so right now the best place to connect to my work is on Instagram. My handle is amanda.masterson, and I have a lot of changes going on with baby coming and all the work we've done with Vita. So I will be updating like my website and some of the things there in the new year. But right now, anyway, there are like different series on my YouTube channel that you can find through my Instagram, and connect to some of the expressions that I've talked about, or just keep kind of following my journey where, like you said, Anca, where I'm just really practicing showing up and being myself and expressing myself in whatever way wants to be expressed from the heart that day, that moment. And so, yeah, that's going on Instagram, a little bit on YouTube still. And I'm sure that there's going to be more coming through with this new journey I'm experiencing with motherhood. So we'll see how that unfolds.
Yes. I can't wait to hear all about that. And I can just wish for you to, I don't know how to put it into words because I heard this thing from Sadhguru and it made so much sense. So he said, I wish for you to never get that what you wish for, because what you wish for is a mental creation. So you create at the level, like at the level of your mental capacity. Whereas what is out there for you in the quantum space is so much larger than what you wish for.
Yes, there's this quote or an affirmation that I guess that I've been using for years that says, like, I cannot even imagine all of the beautiful things that will happen to me. And that's been guiding my life. And it's so true. It's so true. You have no freaking idea. So like open up, open up and let life take you where you want to go, because it can be beautiful if you just like connect to that intention. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Amanda. Have a happy day. And thank everybody for being with us today.